Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. My name is Reverend Kiya Heartwood, and my pronouns are she, they, and I'm really happy to see y'all this morning. It's almost Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Are y'all excited? We're going to start out the service with singing hymn number 370, All People That on Earth Do Dwell. All people that on earth do dwell, sing ye aloud with cheerful voice. Let hearts in exultation swell. Come now together and rejoice. Oh, welcome in this day with praise. Approach with joy your God unto. Give thanks and faith proclaim always. For it is seemly so to do. For we believe that life is good. Love doth abide forevermore. Truth firmer than a rock hath stood, and shall from age to age endure.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Clark, and it's my privilege to serve as worship assistant this morning. Whoever you are, wherever you've come from, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We have a few announcements. You may have noticed a big box sitting on the welcome table outside.
Yeah.
We're collecting items for Brazos Valley blessings. And if you check that box, you can see exactly what items are needed. Plus there was an email in the
ECAS.
Thank you. In the ECAS, there's a long list, a long Amazon list that was really impressive. Then you could do it via Amazon if you'd like. If you have a joy or concern, we do have a piece of paper because the booklet itself has taken a leave of absence. Here comes Allison with our substitute. So please feel free to write out your joy or concern, or maybe you have one of each. As that is passed around, Reverend Kiya will read those for us. Please remember that our service is recorded and publicly available. So if you need to moderate your message, please do so. Please pay your pledges if you can, and if you can send a little extra, that would be outstanding. And finally, the Transgender Day of Remembrance will be celebrated Monday at 6 p.m. at the Sue Haswell Park, Pavilion A.
Yes.
I believe I got that right.
Yes, you do.
Pavilion A, thank you. Okay, it's time for our chalice lighting. Do we have a lighter?
Ian,
Aha!
I know how to do it.
I know you do.
Okay,
You go.
now, as Ian is doing,
Do I want to try to do it just once then?
as Ian is doing that, let's say the words for the chalice lighting together.
Okay.
We light the chalice the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, in celebration of the life of truth and being we share together. And now our affirmation. Please join me in saying that love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Now, what are we doing, Carolyn?
We're doing a song.
All right. I know everybody is very concerned about what's going on in Gaza and what happened in Israel. And so I thought today we would sing an Israeli folk song, and I want to tell you what it means. So it says, what we're saying, the English translation is, goodbye, my friends. Be safe, my friends. Have peace. Have peace. Till we meet again, have peace. Have peace. Sound good? Have you all ever sang this one before? I need first. Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom, Lahira, Lahira, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom. Try it as a record? I think we can do it. We can do it. Okay, I'll see if I can lead two parts at the same time. Okay, let's go. Want to go first? Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom. Thank you so much. Some days we're not together. There we go. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe there is a spark of the divine in every single person, every single living being, even the trees and stuff. And this is your opportunity to say howdy to all the divine beings in the room. And please, I will let you know when to stop, but say hello to people you don't know. And if you've got your name tag on, that helps everyone quite a bit. There we go. Go for it.
Since last week, I'm even when it's not Barbie time, I'm Ken. Still Ken. Just like at the Barbie. I'm Ken. Hello again, Ken. I'm John!
You got more water.
You got more water? Is that gonna help your hiccups, buddy? It needs that.
Yeah, you will. Hey, Brian. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Hello again. You having a wonderful day?
But I'm just like, where's the Yeah. Well,
Do you want me to hold it or keep
I don't mind it. It's
You're
red.
making me nervous.
Because then it's giving water to everything. It's just great for no reason.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? How are you doing today? I'm doing great.
You don't mess around.
Mara. I know it's a hard one. My parents were great. My brother's name is actually Stuba, and it's 11 letters. We didn't spell it until first grade. Yeah. I got off easy.
I know my fear will burn. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Good morning. So today the service is about karma, and our story today is about the wholesome intention part of karma. And I picked the most wholesome story I could find. It is so sweet. It is sugary. It's great. And it actually inspired a real holiday. On December 6th in the UK, they have Mitten Tree Day. So this is the story of the mitten tree. At the end of a long lane in a tidy little house, old Sarah lived alone. Her children had grown up and moved away, but Sarah still remembered the mornings when she walked with them to the blue spruce tree where they waited for the school bus. Now each morning, she opened her shutters and watched for new children to arrive. Every chilly morning, Sarah pulled on her warm coat and started down the lane. As she walked past the children on her way to the mailbox, she wished they would smile or wave, but they never did. The children didn't even seem to notice her. Still, when she saw them, she couldn't help but smile. One winter morning, after the first snow had fallen, all the children were making snowmen and throwing snowballs, all except for one little boy in a blue cap and coat. Even his boots were a dark shade of blue. He stood away from the others with his hands sunk deep in his pockets. When the school bus arrived, he lingered behind and was last in line. As Sarah watched the little boy climb into the bus, she could see one thing. He had no mittens. All that day, Sarah couldn't stop worrying about the little boy with no mittens. Late in the afternoon, as the sky grew dark, Sarah dug through the basket of yarn scraps she had saved for very many years. She found her needles and 4 shades of blue wool. Then Sarah began to knit. Sarah worked late into the night. When the sun began to rise, she hurried to the bus stop and hung the mittens on the old blue spruce tree. From behind the hedge, Sarah watched. The little boy was the first to arrive. He saw the mittens. He reached up and he tried them on. They fit. With a big smile, he made a perfect snowball and threw it high into the winter sky. Soon, a little girl in a red coat arrived. Her mittens didn't match. That night, Sarah knitted with red yarn. Every day now, as Sarah went to the mailbox, she watched for children without mittens. Then she would hurry home and knit. morning, she would hang the new mittens on the tree. The children loved the game. Each day, they would search under every branch and bow for another pair of mittens. Once or twice, Sarah thought that the boy with the blue mittens had seen her, but he always looked away. Night after night, Sarah knitted mittens in every color. Some had stripes, some had hearts, some even had little snowflakes all over them. Somehow, even though she had never spoken to the children, Sarah felt that they had become her new family. On the last day before winter vacation, Sarah awakened before dawn. She took the empty basket that had once held her yarn and filled it to the brim with mittens. Out the door and down the steps she headed. When she got to the blue spruce tree, she hung mittens on every branch. The boy with the blue mittens was the first to arrive. He stood very still and waited for the others. In fact, all the children stood very still for a few minutes, looking at the mysterious, beautiful mitten tree. When they boarded the bus, each child now wore a new pair of mittens. Sarah watched as, one by one, their faces appeared in the bus windows. Still, no one looked her way as she started home. But Sarah's heart was full. It was as full as when the sounds of her own children had filled her house. As Sarah neared her porch and climbed the steps, she saw something waiting for her. There, in the corner, was a basket woven with thick brown vines and decorated with a large white bow. In it were balls and balls of beautiful, colorful yarn. To this day, Sarah knits mittens for all the children in her town. Every time her basket is empty, a new one, a new full one, appears. Sarah doesn't know who the yarn is from. The children still don't know who makes the mittens, but someone must. And this is a really fun day. It's called the Mitten Tree Day in the UK. It's on December 6th, and everyone hangs mittens in the trees for children who don't have mittens. And I just think that is such a wholesome action. So, thanks for reading with me today. And shall we go to RE? Woo!
Inside or outside today? For 6 big words is nothing.
It's still out of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's still out of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. It's still out of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Y'all know this one? Better keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. Better keep your heart wide open, till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. Better keep your heart wide open, till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Somebody who knows the second part, start singing. Keep your heart open, keep your heart open, keep your heart open, keep your heart. Better keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. Better keep your heart wide open, So, we have a very appropriate story for this morning, written by our own Meg Barnhouse. And she's going to read it to us. It's called Waking Up the Karma Fairy. Perfect.
Okay. This is from the book with the title Waking Up the Karma Fairy. That's my inner child on the front. Oh. My readers.
You need another pair?
No, I'm good with this pair.
Okay.
Sitting at the center of the universe, which is what we call the 3 pushed-together tables in the coffee shop where my friends and I meet in the morning, I asked, have you ever been bored with yourself? What do you mean, bored with your job? One friend asked. No, not my job. Not my job or my love or my family. Not with my friends. Those things are spicy, joyful, and bright. I've been bored with myself for the last 4 days. I'm tired of how I think, tired of everything I say, everything I wear, the way I see the world, tired of my approach to life. That's maybe one step away from depression, another said. You might need some Zoloft. I don't feel depressed. In fact, I'm totally bored with the idea of being depressed. I'm bored with being mad. I'm bored with being entertaining. I'm bored with trying to figure things out. No, that last one must be a lie, because here I am trying to figure this thing out. In the midst of that morning's conversation, the answer dawned on me. I may have thoughtlessly woken up the karma fairy. In teaching my children about the laws of the universe, that's the name I gave to the force that causes what you send out to come back to you. The karma fairy is one of God's teachers. She is ruthless in her desire for you to pay attention to your judgments about other people and about yourself. For example, if you were to look at that man from your church who fell in love with the trapeze artist from the circus, and if you were to say something unwise, like, I can't understand how he could do something like that to himself and his family, the very next year you would find yourself in a mad affair with the mulch guy. You see unruly children in McDonald's and you sniff to your young self, my children will never be allowed to act like that. 10 years later, as you wipe barbecue sauce off your shirt and get your screaming child off the floor where she has thrown herself in a tantrum, you remember and cringe. That's the work of the karma fairy. Here's how I attracted her attention. A 10th grader was interviewing me on the phone for a school assignment. One of the questions she asked was, have you ever had writer's block? Listen, can you hear it? Can you hear the dissonant chord of warning from the string section of the orchestra that plays the background music to your life? No, I haven't had writer's block, I laughed, carelessly. I have 3 part-time jobs and 2 children. I don't have time for writer's block. Diving back into work, after hanging up, I didn't give it another thought until this morning when it came to me. For the last 4 days, I had been in school with the karma fairy. I learned that writer's block doesn't have to mean you aren't capable of writing anything. For me, it means whatever I can think of to write bores me to slobber. Write about video poker? Boring. The rebel flag flying over the South Carolina State House? Boring. The trees they're clearing in front of my house? Boring. I know for a fact that these are emotionally loaded, interesting topics. The boredom is in me. Hello, writer's block. I found it doesn't take any extra time at all, and that I am vulnerable to it like everybody else. Thank you, karma fairy. You love me, you tough old hag. You want me to be wise and kind, compassionate and careful. And you teach me over and over again this lesson I hate and cannot hold in my mind, that I am not an exception to any of the rules. The karma fairy is here to show us that we're not safe in our righteousness, our intelligence, our careful nutrition, our common sense, our hip and groovy walk in the Tao. She is here to give us deep, full hearts. She is here to show us that we have it in us to make as big a mess as the next person. If we're ever going to find a cure for self-righteousness, the root of all separation, of all cruelty, we need her touch. The stories in this book are all true. They are all about her touch, about waking up, about feeling the Spirit wink at me, about living as a liberal black belt minister, mom in the South. It's an exotic life. I know yours is exotic in its way. And here's another thing I know. You have met the Karma Fairy too.
Yep. Sorry. Go. You're good. I'm sitting down today. We're having a discussion about karma. So, what is your understanding of karma? Where did you hear it, the word first, and what do you think about it? Where do you think it comes from?
I grew up.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yes. So karma is a very ancient idea, and it comes from the Vedic period of time, so early Bronze Age, when they wrote the Vedas in Hindi. So in Sanskrit, actually, it's a Sanskrit word. It means action. But there's a difference between the various faiths, what they think karma means. So in Hindu, they think God, or Atman, or Brahman, or however you call him, is the one who's in charge of how karma is distributed, but karma is based on your actions. And in Buddhism, there's no God involved. It's just a natural process. And the same thing in Jainism, where they think your soul is like perfect and clear, and that karma is like what you do or say, and it's like dust that attaches to your clean soul and affects your life. And so it's a natural process. It's just going to happen to you. Like what goes around comes around, that kind of thing. Everybody got it pretty clear, the differences? And of course, there's a lot of different varieties and beliefs regarding to that. But what I think is interesting and I want to talk about today is how the Unitarians get in there and the Universalists, spiritualists, the later Universalists, they get involved because there's a thing called the Theosophist Society. Anybody heard of Madame Blavatsky or the Golden Dawn or any of these things? So in 1875, this woman from Russia, Madame Blavatsky, she was a spiritualist, mystic, and she traveled all around the world, supposedly living with shamans and talking to all kinds of people. And she is mostly known to our generations as having something to do with Jimmy Page getting involved in Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn and spiritual. It's kind of like a neo-spiritualism. All right, so they got really interested in Hindi and they got interested in Buddhism, and they were these Americans and Russians, and they went to India. They moved to India, and like the white supremacists that they are, they thought, hey, I'm going to learn everything about Buddhism in 2 weeks, and I'm going to open a center and teach the Indians about being Buddhist and Hindi. And what's great about them is that they got lots of direct people from Tibet and from different yogis to come to America and do speeches and lecture and go around the world talking. And that's a big influence on the West. So a lot of our ideas about karma actually come from these guys and not direct. So it's kind of diluted and kind of pop spiritualism. So a lot of karma laws, the karmatic laws, so you've got Buddhists and Jains especially, who think it's just a natural process, that there's not a supernatural necessarily a God, but that, you know, if you mistreat people, it's going to come back and bite you. Or you can do a more Buddhist idea about it and think it's going to come back and bite you because you're going to feel terrible about it. It's going to mess up your peace of mind. So it's much more like Meg's version of the karma theory. And what I think is fascinating is how that's not exactly how the 5,000 years of Hindi thought evolved about karma. Because there's all different kinds of karma, and you are brought back. It's not direct. Like, if you're Hitler, say, and you're reborn, you might be paying for your karma for many lifetimes. Perhaps not in the one that you lived in when you did all your bad acts. And the other thing about Buddhist version of karma is it's much more important what your intention was than what you actually did. So if you gave away a whole lot of money and you did it really publicly and you were like, you were Bill Gates, you robbed everybody blind, you stole Apple's technology and you made an incredible fortune, and then you opened a foundation, your intention and karma might be messed up a lot more than you think, because you think now, oh, I've given billions and billions of dollars away, so I've cleaned my karma up. That is not how it really works, or that's not how the Hindus say it worked. It's interesting that way. I mean, truthfully, I do not know. But what I know is that these ideas came from people facing the essential questions of life. So people are sitting around going, why is there evil in the world? Anybody got a theory? Because they did something terrible in their last life and they came back as evil? Or they're doing terrible things in this life and they're going to pay for it in the future? We like that idea. There'll be pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. That's a Joe Hill song. You know who Joe Hill is? All right. Joe Hill was he was a Swedish immigrant, wobbly labor organizer who was accused of murder, who didn't actually do it. And they had a firing squad and they killed him. He was actually with a woman, but he didn't want to get her in trouble because she was married. So he went to the gallows, so to speak. But when everybody sings I Dreamed I Saw Joe Hill last night, that's who they're talking about. And his big song was, there'll be pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. There'll be pie in the sky when you die. Anyway, he's awesome. And when he died, they sent his ashes to every wobbly union hall. That's one big union. There's still wobblies, but most of them had to leave the country after World War I. Anyway, I'm telling you a little bit about the wobblies. But what happened was, it doesn't work the way that you think. Karma doesn't happen, boom. And I'm not sure it happens at all. Like, why do some people, here's some other questions that really bother me. I imagine they bother you. Think of the ones that you have. Like, how do some politicians lie continually, everyone proves it, and why do other people support them? And what does that do to their karma? I would like to know. And where's all that fairness and stuff we were taught when we were kids? Is the world fair? That's another question. Kids say, hey, is the world fair? You don't think so? Right on. So, if you were living back in the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, and you were a Hindi, and you were living and trying to figure out how the world worked, somebody thought karma up as an explanation for evil in the world, for why things are not fair, and that it's beyond our comprehension. We can't understand why. Now, if you're from an Abrahamic religion, you think that God did it, and God is in charge of it, and God is taking care of it, and actually a lot of Hindi believe that as well. But the Buddhists are like, nope, that's not how it goes. And you're going to be in the cycle of rebirth until you've paid your karma. And how do you get out of it? You attain liberation. So there's actually things you can do. So I have to tell you all this stuff about the Theosophic Society because I'm going to read you the 12 of the 20 laws of karma that are supposedly just laws of the universe. But I want to tell you that this comes from those guys who are definitely not, we're basically grifting people and coming into somebody else's culture, co-opting it, and then demanding that other people, through colonialism, preach it the way they said it, and not the way that the 5,000 years before that had said it. And so I encourage you to read more about the actual and not so much about, if you look up 12 laws of karma on Facebook or on Google, this is what you're going to get. They're based on things that are true in Hinduism and Buddhism, but they are through that gate of spiritual, neo-spiritualism. So if it sounds a little simple to you, or it sounds like, but what about this? Go ahead and ask those questions because you're right. There's something wonky about the whole thing being this all nice tied up in a bow. But I'm going to read them to you anyway because they're useful. They're useful. So the first is the law of humility, to not think you know everything. The first key. This is all going to help your karma. The second law is the law of focus. What you focus on is what's going to happen. What you put your energy into is what you're going to get back. The third is significance. So you make small adjustments. You want to make change in your life. You want your karma to change. Then you focus on small things that you can do today, little things. You know, like recycle, don't use plastic. You want to save the world from climate change, maybe you just get a water bottle. You know what I mean? Okay. The other thing is patience. That if you think that you're fixing it instantly or you're taking a shortcut, that's a mistake. It's going to cost you. It's going to take longer than you think to get where you want to go because you weren't patient. All these sound like common sense to me. Law of cause and effect. So the basic American idea of karma. You know, what you do will come back to you. The whole pagan idea of the rule 3, that, you know, what you put out in the world is going to come back to you 3 times. This is all coming from the Theosophists as well. So a lot of Wiccan has a lot of this in it too. Responsibility. You have the power to change, and you have control over your life more than you think by what you actually do. And everything is connected. Now, I think that might be the most useful thought in the present universe if we're going to address climate change and we're going to change the zeitgeist of the world, is to believe that what we do affects everything around us and everybody around us. And that is not the way we were raised. Basically, especially if you're raised in a Christian paradigm, you're raised to think, okay, it doesn't really matter. God's got it. How many people have heard that in their life? God's got it. That might be true, but he might be count on you to be the one who did something about it, which people should consider more often. But we're all connected, and so you can't just use people in other countries and say, well, we're going to have all this stuff and they can't have anything, or we're just, it's fine, they're having a war over here, we don't care because we're fine. That's not true. We're all connected. Everything is happening all the time. You mess with the water over here, it's messing with your water. The whole world works in a cycle. And I just want to remind you that we can't even build a biosphere. The Earth is more complicated than we have figured out, and we don't know how it works. So you can't fix something if you don't know how it works. Just saying. So consider the possibility that we need to be humble. Assume we don't know. Focus on the problem. Remember that everything's connected. And that we have a responsibility to make change on the things that you can change. So, and then focus on the here and now. You can't change the past. And you can mess with the future, as Patti Smith said in a much more unministerial language back in one of her hit songs. I don't mess much with the past, but I mess plenty with the future, right? So we can mess with the future by focusing on the here and now. What can we do right here and now? These are all pretty good laws, whether you're talking about karma or anything else. You have the power to create. You don't sit back and wait for God or other people to tell you to do things. You have to make change happen for yourself. In the realm of your influence. Meg told me a great story once about one of her spirit guides. Can I tell that story, or will you want to tell it?
You go ahead.
So, she was feeling really bad about, what country were you feeling bad about?
The war in Bosnia.
Yeah. So she was feeling really bad, but she was like doing all this Jungian dream analysis, and these spirit guides would come and talk to her. And so the spirit guide came and talked to her and was like, yeah, well, you should go to Bosnia right now and do something about it. And she's like, I can't go, I've got little kids. And it said, yeah, right, you can't do that. So why are you worrying about that? When that's not something you have control over. You can't do that. Spend time making joy in your life if that's what you can do, because the world needs joy too, and everything's connected. Does that make sense? Or I'm not telling the story very well. It made a big impression on me, that story. And then the law of change. Everything's cyclical, everything's changing. You may not like it, you may want it to stay the same. Too bad. It's going to change. Everything changes all the time. And in karma, that's going on too. So I have a lot of sympathy for the people in the Bronze Age who made this up. And I see that many brilliant people in India have worked on these issues and thought about it and worked on it over time. And I think there's a lot of wealth of knowledge in the Hinduism and in Buddhism and in Jainism that we can learn from, as long as we come in with humility and assume that you can't just co-opt somebody's thing and say, hey, I just got here from Russia and I'm in charge now, and I'm in charge of Buddhism and how we're going to train people. That's colonialism. That's co-opting. Anyway, I hope you'll look more into these people, and I hope this was interesting. Does anybody have any questions? Or thoughts or things you want to share? Okay. Thanks for letting me sit down today. So I've got a reading for you from Arthur Conan Doyle, who spent a lot of time in India. Violence does in truth recoil upon the violent, and the schemer falls into the pit which he digs for another. So even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle influenced by karma.
Okay. Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for which we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to help support nonprofit organizations with which we work. The 4 groups we voted to support with this year's donations are the following: the African American Museum, Brazos Valley Blessings, the Pride Center, and the Brazos Mobile Food Pantry. We vote on this every May at our congregational meeting. Please be as generous as you can. Okay, here come the baskets.
I see trees green, red roses too. I see them bloom, me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more that I'll never know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
As always, we thank you for your generosity.
Does anybody have the, there we are. We have a concern from Allison, her best friend. My best friend Blair is having major surgery on Tuesday. Send healthy thoughts. And may everybody travel safely for Thanksgiving. Also want to just bow our heads for a minute for Gaza and for what's going on there. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you. So, as we have so many things to be grateful for, and everybody's getting ready to go hang out with their families and everything, that's wonderful. And try to enjoy it. Try to stay in your body. Try to not talk about things that you know that everybody's going to fight about. It's okay. Yeah. Try to remember something about them that you remember from your childhood or whatever that you really loved about them, and just focus on the love. And that will get everybody through this without anybody going to the hospital.
Don't challenge their karma failings.
Exactly. And don't tell anybody your karma's going to catch up with you. That would definitely wake up the karma fairy. Remember the way of the wind and breathe and blow. Remember the way of fire, sparkle and glitter and glow. Remember the way of the water and ebb and flow. Remember the way of the earth and grow. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And if you are in the mood to go to the UUWF potluck, it is happening at 12:15 today at City Alfort's. Ask Katie or Kathy where it is, if you don't know. All right, go in peace.